Hello and welcome wherever you are in the world. Maybe you're listening from a quiet bedroom in Kentucky. Or perhaps you're tucked into a cozy armchair in Yorkshire, with the rain tapping gently on your window. It could be late at night or very early in the morning, and your mind, like the shadows outside, is still wandering. Before we begin, I'd love for you to leave a comment, just a small hello, or tell us where you're listening from, what time it is, or what's on your mind tonight. Every note from you helps this quiet little corner of the internet grow a little warmer. And if you find yourself returning often, maybe consider subscribing to this channel, not for me, but for yourself, so that each night when sleep eludes you, you know a story is waiting. Now take a deep breath. The story I'm about to tell you is not one you'll find in many textbooks. It's not a tale of triumph, or peace, or even justice. It's a memory scorched into stone, drowned in ash, and whispered by the embers that still dream beneath the soil of old Constantinople. Imagine it with me. You are standing on a marble balcony high above the sea. The Bosphorus glimmers below like a serpent of silver glass. Beyond it, the city stretches domes and towers, cloisters and courtyards woven together like a prayer. The scent of sea brine mixes with sweet incense from the churches, with roasted lamb from street stalls, and something faintly acrid smoke, perhaps just on the edge of recognition. It is night, but the sky is not dark. There is a flicker, then a glow, then the roar. You do not know it yet, but Byzantium is burning. Not from the hands of foreign invaders, but from within. A fury lit by betrayal, ambition, and something even deeper, the fear of losing a dying empire's soul. You don't run, not yet, you watch. The Hagia Sophia casts long shadows like a sentinel in grief. Fires ripple across tiled roofs. From the hippodrome, screams echo into the streets. The emperor's palace shutters slam closed, like the eyes of a god who will no longer see. But you do, and what you see, you will never forget. Tonight we walk not through the daylight of history, but into its burning midnight, when Byzantium, the queen of cities, wept fire into the sea. Let us begin. You stand on the edge of a quiet rooftop. Below you the city breathes, not with the hurried, chaotic rhythms of a place in danger, but with the slow, sleepy pulse of a people who have forgotten what danger feels like. Constantinople. Byzantium is beautiful tonight. The kind of beauty that makes you forget this city has bled more times than it's sung. A cool wind curls around your ankles, carrying with it the scent of olives and river reeds. It rustles through laundry lines, pulls at clay shutters, and lifts the faint laughter of children too young to fear empires or emperors. Somewhere in the distance a lyre is being played, hesitant, unfinished. A single note falls into the darkness and disappears. You look up. The sky above is velvet. No moon tonight, only stars, shy and few like candles placed far apart in a vast cathedral ceiling. One star blinks more than the rest, as if unsure of its place in the heavens. Behind you, the golden dome of the Hagia Sophia glows faintly in the last of the oil lamps. Its great arches look tired, though still noble, like an old lion watching the savannah, aware of younger predators circling. From where you stand, the whole city seems frozen in a moment of serenity. You do not know yet that this peace is already cracking at the edges. You lean forward slightly, and your fingers graze the crumbling edge of a stone parapet. The stone is warm, still holding on to the heat of the day, but there's something beneath the surface. A vibration, faint, like the first tremor before a fall. From here you see the great sea walls stretching east. The lanterns along their top flicker like a necklace of dying fireflies. Beyond them, the Bosphorus gleams in the starlight. The water is calm, too calm. Ships are moored silently, as if afraid to speak. Their sails are down, their crews drinking or sleeping, or perhaps simply waiting. Your eyes shift to the palace. The sacred palace of the emperors does not glow tonight. It broods in the dark like a mountain. Behind its high marble walls, the court has already begun to tremble. But no torches flicker from its windows. No footsteps echo in its corridors. From this distance, it might as well be abandoned. You think of Theodora. Not the old Theodora, the one whose statues still stand in purple robes and stern frowns. No, this is a newer Theodora, younger, quieter, but no less watchful. You've heard she doesn't sleep much, that she walks the corridors alone, fingers brushing tapestries like pages in a book only she can read. They say she's been whispering to generals. They say she's been watching the streets from behind curtained balconies. They say she knows what's coming. But none of that reaches the people yet. Not the baker you passed on the way here, whose hands were still dusted in flour, and whose son was learning to braid dough. Not the sandal maker whose wooden shutters creaked in protest when he closed up for the night. Not the old woman feeding cats in the alley singing to them in a language no longer spoken. They don't feel it yet, but you do. The city is too quiet in the wrong places. The guards at the Tower of Animus were doubled 2 days ago. The whispers in the meat market now outnumber the coin clinks, and when you walked past the cistern this morning, a man stood at its edge for hours watching the water, but never drinking. You take a step back from the edge. Below, in the narrow street that snakes between homes, a pair of children run past barefoot, laughing, chasing something invisible. Their shadows stretch long behind them, swallowed by the curves of the cobbled lane. A dog barks once, then falls silent. Far off a bell tolls, just one, not from the churches, from the harbor. It is not loud, it does not echo, but it does not stop. One note again and again, like a heart too stubborn to die. You turn to leave the rooftop. Your footsteps are soft. The wooden stairs groan beneath your weight. You pass by the laundry hung to dry a tunic, a kerchief, a child's small shirt, and descend into the quiet corridor of the house below. Inside, an oil lamp flickers on a narrow table. The flame dances each time the wind slips through the cracks in the shutters. On the wall hangs a faded icon Christ with one eye missing, as if even the sacred are looking away tonight. The air smells of burnt sage and boiled lentils. A cat sleeps by the door. You step past it gently and open the latch. The street greets you with stillness. No one else is out. You walk slowly, your sandals barely lifting from the stone, past shuttered homes, past a shrine carved into the wall of a home long abandoned, past an old fountain where no water runs, only dust and rust-stained tears. You reach the main street, and there, for the first time, you see it. A red glow, very faint, not like the warm orange of lamps or hearths, no. This glow pulses, breathes, flickers, then retreats, then returns stronger. It comes from the southwest. The markets, you smell it before you hear it. Burning wool, then something wetter. Animal fat paint, something wooden crackling, then a shout. Not a scream, a warning, but no one answers. You stand there alone on the cobblestone path. The city behind you still sleeps, but ahead something is waking. Something with teeth. You do not run! Not yet, but your breath quickens, not from fear, from knowing. Byzantium is about to burn. And you? You are already too close. You turn away from the glow, not because you mean to run, but because your feet have remembered something your mind has not yet caught up to, a promise, a person, a doorway that might still be open tonight. The sound of the street softens under your steps as you move deeper into the heart of the neighborhood, where the houses lean closer together like old friends keeping secrets. You pass under a low arch where ivy has grown wild, curling its fingers into the stone. The scent of smoke is weaker here, but not gone. It lingers in the folds of your robe, in the corners of your thoughts. You pause before a modest wooden door, its surface worn smooth by years of palms and knuckles. Above it hangs a bronze lamp unlit. Inside he is waiting. You knock once. The door opens to a face you know well, soft and round, but furrowed now with worry. His name is Lydos, a merchant of dyes and cloth, but also of news. He reads the streets like others read scripture. And tonight his eyes do not sparkle with stories. You saw it, he asks. You nod. He steps aside and lets you in. His shop is narrow and dim. Rolls of colored fabric lean against the walls. Sapphire silk, rust-colored wool, green velvet, so dark it seems to swallow light. But tonight, the shelves feel like shadows, and the colors are mute. Even the candles flicker less cheerfully than usual. Lydos pours wine into 2 cups. The liquid is tart, the kind that leaves your throat aching. He doesn't offer bread. There were whispers yesterday, he says. Theodora met with the captain of the city watch. 2 hours behind closed doors. No scribe. You say nothing. They're saying the crowd at the hippodrome was larger than usual. Chanting, names. Still you say nothing. He rubs his temple where a small silver scar runs like a thread. It's the taxes, he mutters. The emperor levied new ones on salt and grain. The poor are starving. The guilds are furious. The words tumble between you like stones falling down a well. Deep, but without splash. You're not here for politics. You're here because you smelled fire and felt it in your chest like a memory returning. Lydos drains his cup in one gulp. There's more, he says. Word is some of the palace guards. They've been seen without insignia, moving through the city in twos, watching. Your skin prickles. He leans closer, and the palace kitchens, they took in triple their usual flour today. You frown. For guests, he says, or refugees. Outside, a sudden gust of wind shakes the shutters. Somewhere far off you hear the distant thud of something falling. Heavy, final. Lydos lowers his voice. They're preparing for a siege or a riot. You reach for your cup but find it empty. You don't remember drinking it. He notices and fills it again. This time the wine tastes stronger. "You should go," he says softly. "If you're still on the streets when the church bells ring, you won't be able to return. They'll close the quarter." You don't ask who they are. You stand, and Lydos follows. He doesn't offer to come with you, and you don't ask. You share a look, one that says more than any farewell. Then you step back into the street. The glow is brighter now. More than one fire. The night has thickened not with cold, but with the smell of burning cloth. You move toward the upper market, where whispers had warned of tension all week. Vendors arguing, priests preaching, louder children going missing in the crowd. Now those alleys are lit with unnatural light. At the corner near the public fountain, you pause. A crowd has gathered, silent, still. They are watching the flames rise from a wooden stall, the one that sells parchment and ink. The fire crackles like dry bones. Nobody tries to stop it. The stall's owner stands nearby, arms at his sides, as if accepting judgment. You recognize his face, Gaius. He taught letters to orphans during winters. He wrote poems to the sea and never read them aloud. Now he watches his livelihood dissolve into embers, and he does not cry. Someone throws another bundle into the fire. You catch the scent of lemon oil, treated paper, expensive. A man steps back from the flame, eyes wide, his chest heaving as if he's just committed a murder. You move through the crowd like a ghost. Faces blur past you, anxious, blank, angry. A woman clutches a child. A man grips a wooden spoon like a weapon. A boy chews his fingernails, blood at the edges. You hear breathing, too much breathing, like the city is hyperventilating through every pore. Then the shouting begins. It starts from the south, one voice sharp, then another louder, then 10 more. You follow the sound, down a sloped street where shadows gather like soldiers. Men are pushing carts to block the way. Young ones wrapped in rags, their eyes lit by something more than fire. Not hunger, not fear. Purpose. You recognize that look. It belongs to those who believe they are about to win something, or lose everything. You don't speak to them. You don't need to. They are not listening. Their mouths are filled with chants, now short and rhythmic. Not words, just beats. Boom, boom, boom. The echo bounces off the stone walls. Then a sound cuts through it all. The great bell of the Hagia Sophia. It rings once, then again, then 3 times in rapid succession. Not the call to prayer, not a festival. It is the signal. You feel it in your ribs like thunder. The people stop chanting. The crowd freezes. You do not know what comes next, but you understand in your bones that the city no longer belongs to the emperor, not tonight. Not anymore. You stand among them, surrounded not by allies nor enemies, but by strangers who breathe the same sharp air, whose silhouettes flicker with every pulse of flame down the street. The bell has stopped. It rang 3 times. That's all. But something ancient and irreversible has been released into the bones of the city. The silence that follows is worse than any scream. A baby begins to cry. Its mother hushes it with quick, shaking fingers. The old man beside her lowers himself to the ground, hand clutching his chest, eyes fixed on the horizon like a prophet no one will listen to. Someone runs past you barefoot, carrying a sack that clinks. And then footsteps. From the north end of the street, near the square of St. Michael, you hear them, steady, deliberate, armored. Torchlight glints off helmets. You count 6. No, 8. More behind them. Shields out, spears forward, cloaks drawn tight across their shoulders. The city watch, but something about them is wrong. They march not like guardians, but like men walking toward fire with dry wood in their hands. No insignia, no royal purple. Their boots leave soot behind as they pass. You step back into a doorway. The merchant beside you murmurs something. You catch only the last word: traitors. The guards don't shout. They don't issue commands. One lifts a torch and touches it to a wooden shutter. The fire takes instantly. The home groans as if wounded. A boy inside begins to scream. Someone pulls him out just in time, hair singed, face streaked with ash. The crowd does not charge, it does not scatter, it shudders. And then, from somewhere behind the line of guards, a voice cuts the air. Let it burn. Cold female, unshaken. Theodora. No, too far, too low. But the words strike the stone like a hammer. Another house is set alight. Then a stall. Then another. You see no logic, no strategy. This is not suppression, it is theater. A performance for an audience made of fear. A woman collapses beside you, clutching her child. Her mouth moves, but you hear no sound. The air has grown too thick. The sky above you glows orange now, not from the moon or stars, but from the bloom of fires devouring rooftops like hungry vines. You move. You don't remember starting. But suddenly your feet are carrying you through winding alleys, past crumbling frescoes, past weeping statues blackened with smoke. You pass a bakery whose windows have shattered from the heat. Loaves lie in the dirt like fallen bricks. The smell is nauseating, burnt flour, singed fur, old oil melting into the stone. At the foot of the aqueduct you stop. A small group has gathered here, 6 or 7 figures cloaked, silent. They're not armed, but something in the way they stand tells you they are not afraid. One of them steps forward. "You were there," she says. You nod. She doesn't ask what you saw. She simply looks past you toward the glow behind the rooftops. "Tonight is only the beginning," she whispers. "Tomorrow the emperors will kneel to ghosts." You don't answer. Another figure speaks, an old man with soot in his beard and sadness in his eyes. "They'll blame the poor. They always do. But this time the poor will not forget." The wind changes. Now it carries a new scent, melted beeswax, incense, and something sharper, blood. You turn your head. Down the hill near the gate of the basilisk, a line of torches snakes toward the city. Not soldiers, pilgrims, refugees, families, people from the outer districts fleeing inward toward the heart of Byzantium, toward the illusion of safety. They pass you in silence, mothers with babies tied to their backs, fathers dragging carts of copper and bread, children too exhausted to cry. One woman carries a cage of doves. Another clutches an icon so tightly her knuckles have gone white. You recognize the fear on their faces. Not the fear of death, the fear of being forgotten. One man stops and looks at you. His robes are scorched and his left hand is wrapped in cloth stained dark. "Do you think the churches will open their doors?" he asks. You want to say yes, but your mouth is dry. He moves on. You follow them for a while, your footsteps merging with theirs, your breath matching the rhythm of the wheels scraping stone. A child stumbles beside you. You catch her wrist gently. She looks up, eyes green as olives, face smeared with soot. "Is this what the end looks like?" she asks. You don't know. The crowd begins to thin as you reach the steps of the Hagia Sophia, and there beneath its grand shadow something strange happens. The doors are open, truly open. Gold light spills out like honey. Inside the mosaics shimmer untouched. The air is thick with the scent of frankincense and wax. Choir music floats just barely, like the memory of song rather than its sound. The priest at the threshold does not speak. He simply nods as the people enter. One by one, without words, without faith or fear or permission, you follow. The great dome above you rises like the sky itself, painted with stars that do not flicker. The candles along the altar tremble but do not fall. Here for a moment the fire feels far away. You walk to a bench near the outer aisle. You sit. You exhale, and for the first time all night you close your eyes. But you do not sleep, because somewhere out in the dark Byzantium is still burning. You do not know how long you sit there, minutes maybe, or hours. Time loses its grip within the stone womb of the Hagia Sophia. The murmurs of prayer are soft and unhurried, like waves smoothing the edges of something broken. All around you people huddle in silence, not speaking, not crying, just listening. To what? Perhaps to the sound of their world unraveling outside. Or perhaps to something older, a quiet that speaks when nothing else can. You open your eyes. The dome above still holds the Christ Pantocrator in mosaic arms, wide gaze steady. His eyes do not blink. He does not look away. Even as smoke curls beneath the great arches and ash drifts in from the open doors like snow, he remains, watching. You rise slowly. A few children are sleeping beneath a velvet curtain. An old woman strokes their hair without looking at them. Her lips move in silent rhythm. Not Latin, not Greek, something older than both. As you step into the nave, your fingers brush against the polished stone columns. They're cool, solid, yet they feel different now, like the ribs of a ship already half submerged. Outside the glow has grown brighter, not the gentle golden hue of oil lamps or sanctified candles. No, this is sharper, hungrier, orange-tinged red rising with a low hiss like breath through clenched teeth. You step through the great door, and the air strikes you like a slap, hot sour vibrating. The sky above is no longer dark, it churns with firelight, thick smoke twisting into clouds that hide the stars. Somewhere beyond the rooftops something has collapsed. You hear the scream of splintering beams, the groan of stone yielding to flame, the thud of something enormous falling, and under it all, bells, not in harmony. Each church tower tolling its own warning, out of sync, as if calling to different gods for different salvations. You walk east toward the Forum of Constantine. The streets are slick with water, not from rain but from buckets thrown in panic. The stones glisten beneath the firelight, like the scales of some ancient beast writhing under your feet. A shop has collapsed to your left, parchment scrolls and wax tablets floating in the runoff like dead fish. A man stands in the wreckage clutching a ledger. He doesn't move. He just stares at what once held meaning. You pass him in silence. Further down, a statue has fallen. A riderless horse now lies cracked in half, its head turned toward the heavens. Someone has painted over its broken flank in charcoal. You will not ride again. The wind shifts, and you smell something you cannot name. Not fire, not blood. Something final. You follow the scent. It leads you to a narrow square where the shadows flicker like dancers. There a man kneels beneath a colonnade. His robe is embroidered, though singed. A silver chain dangles from his wrist. His back is turned. He is praying. You hear the words soft trembling, but not for protection. Not for mercy. He is asking to be forgotten. Behind him, a fire crackles through a tailor's shop. Silks twist and curl in the heat, their colors shifting green to gold red to black white to nothing. Like memories being rewritten. You do not interrupt him. He is not praying for you. You step over broken tiles and splintered beams and find yourself near the imperial baths. The pools have boiled dry. The marble is scorched. Steam hisses from cracks in the earth like the breath of something old waking beneath the city. You see movement. 3 figures, cloaked, faces covered, pulling something from the edge of the bathhouse ruins. A crate. Heavy. One of them drops it. It bursts open. Not gold. Not food. Books, scrolls stamped with seals. You glimpse the symbol, a circle of 7 stars, a sun at the center. Archives. Not religious texts, government. They scramble to gather them. One sees you. You say nothing. He nods once, then vanishes into the dark. You wonder if he's saving history or hiding it. A scream pierces the air. High, sharp, young. You run toward it. Down the alley behind the apothecary's ruins, you find a boy no older than 10, pressed against a door, eyes wild. Before him a man with a cudgel. Drunk. His mouth foams with spit and hatred. His robe bears no mark of allegiance. He is not looting. He is unraveling. You step between them. The man snarls, swings. You duck. The cudgel hits the wall. Chips fly. The boy whimpers. You throw a stone, not to hurt, to wake. It strikes his knee. He stumbles, and something in him cracks. He flees not from you, but from himself. You turn to the boy. His lip is bleeding. His hands shake. You kneel, wipe the blood with your sleeve. He clutches your arm. "Where's my mother?" he asks. You do not lie. "I don't know." "Will you take me to the sea?" he whispers. You nod. You lead him past burning beams, through smoke-filled tunnels of ruined homes, past fountains choked with ash, past doors flung open but leading nowhere. And finally you reach the edge, the sea. The Bosphorus lies before you like a vast mirror broken only by fire's reflection. Dozens of ships sit anchored. Most are dark. Some burn. Others are full, too full. You hear shouting from the docks, pushing, desperation. But here where you stand it is quiet. The child kneels in the sand. You sit beside him. You both watch the city burn. Neither of you speaks, not because there is nothing to say, but because everything has already been said by the flames. The child has fallen asleep with his head resting on your thigh. You sit motionless, your back against a cracked mooring post, your eyes fixed on the distant blur of fire swallowing the skyline of Byzantium. The sea licks the edge of the quay in soft rhythmic motions, a gentle counterpoint to the chaos behind you. The water is black-flecked with gold, the flickers of reflection from a city in torment. You let your fingers trail through the sand, feeling the coolness just beneath the surface. The grains cling to your skin, wet and fine, a strange comfort. A distant tower crumbles. You hear it before you see it. A slow groan, a deep rumble, and then the sudden sickening roar of collapse. You turn your head in time to see the plume of smoke billow upward like a funeral shroud. The boy stirs but does not wake. You wonder what dreams his mind is weaving now. Dreams of before, when the city was merely loud and crowded, not loud with screams and crowded with ghosts. Along the water's edge, figures move like shadows. Some carry bundles, some carry nothing but each other. A man with no shoes drags a woman with blood on her hands. A young girl leads a blind elder by a cord of twine. They do not speak. No one speaks. Words have become as useless as coins tonight. One small fishing boat is pushing off the dock. Aboard it a family huddles together, mother, father, 3 children, and a dog. The father rows with uneven arms. His right shoulder has been burned. Still he rows. The boat makes no sound as it slips into the blackness. You wonder where they'll go. Asia. The islands. Or perhaps just far enough to watch from the water to see the empire fall from a safe distance. The boy stirs again and opens his eyes. "Is it morning?" he asks. You shake your head. "No," you whisper. "Not yet." He sits up slowly, rubbing his eyes with a dirty sleeve. His hair is matted with ash and salt. His face is streaked with soot and tears, though he no longer seems to notice. He stands and looks back at the city. "Is that the palace?" he asks, pointing to a distant golden glow. You squint. No, the palace lies beyond that. What he's pointing to is the library, or what remains of it. The great dome has caved inward. Firelight pulses from within like a dying heart, the words of centuries turning to smoke. You don't correct him. You simply nod. He says nothing more. The wind picks up. It carries with it a new sound, shouting. But not wild, angry shouting. This is rhythmic, structured. You rise, brush the sand from your robe, and walk toward the source. The boy follows without needing to be asked. As you round the corner of a ruined bathhouse, you see them. Marching. Dozens, maybe more. Cloaked in white. Faces covered with linen. Each holding a small, flickering candle. The flames barely survive the wind, but they are many, and together they glow like stars reborn. At their center, 4 men carry a litter. On it lies a corpse swaddled in embroidered cloth, face veiled. A funeral. At night, in a burning city. You do not understand, not fully, but you follow. The boy clutches your hand. Down narrow alleys, past smoking ruins, over bridges still slick with soot and blood, the procession moves. No one interferes. The mob does not touch them. The soldiers do not challenge them. Even the fire seems to pause as they pass. At last they arrive at a square, small, cracked, ringed with statues, now headless. At the center they stop. 2 of the robed figures step forward and begin to dig with hands, not tools. The soil is hard, dry, littered with stone fragments. Still they dig. You realize what you are seeing. They are burying a senator, a member of the court, in silence. In secret. No trumpet, no scroll, no name spoken. The child beside you whispers, "Why?" You answer without looking away. Because no one will remember him if they don't. The robed mourners lower the body into the shallow grave. One removes a ring from the corpse's hand and places it in a small box. The box is passed among them, each one touching it once, then letting go. Then the earth returns. Fistful by fistful. No words, no prayer. Only the sound of earth reclaiming what marble once adorned. When it is done, the mourners rise, turn, and vanish into the dark. Their candles remain behind, forming a soft circle of light around the fresh mound. You step closer. The boy does too. Neither of you speaks. But for a moment, you feel the weight of time pressing inward, the gravity of forgotten names and stories fading before they are told. Then the wind blows again, scattering ash into your eyes, and the silence breaks. From the south, a new noise rises, drums. Not war drums. Celebration. You turn bewildered. From the edge of the forum, a crowd is dancing, laughing. Wine bottles lifted high. Strings played on broken lutes. Women in tattered dresses spinning through the ash feet, blackened eyes, wild. Men leaping over flames, shouting into the void. Madness. Or something stranger, defiance. You walk toward them. The boy holds back, uncertain. But you continue. And as you near the dancers, you see the truth. These are not rebels, not soldiers. They are survivors. Bakers, smiths, seamstresses, street performers. All of them caked in soot, eyes, bloodshot smiles, cracked but real. They dance not to forget, but because there is nothing else to do. One of them grabs your hand. You're pulled into the circle. The music is out of tune, the rhythm uneven. But your feet move. And for a moment, just one, you are not mourning, not fleeing, not watching. You are alive. In a burning city. On a night that should not be survived. You dance. Your body moves without thinking. One step, then another, guided not by music but by something older, the heartbeat of the earth beneath burning stone, the rhythm of breath still shared among the living. You turn, hands still linked with a woman whose name you'll never know, her face half lit by firelight, and sweat, her laughter like cracked bells. Ash floats in the air like snow. The flames roar behind the buildings, but here in this ragged courtyard where the dance continues, you could almost believe the world has not ended, that Byzantium still stands whole, that morning might still come. But it won't, not yet. A man stumbles beside you, laughing, mouth bleeding from where he bit his own tongue. He raises a jug of wine and empties it over his head. Another woman grabs a burning stick and spins in circles, casting red sparks that sting your skin and singe your robe. You don't flinch. The boy stands at the edge of the square, watching. His eyes are wide, confused. He doesn't understand why anyone would dance in the middle of a dying world. You break away and go to him. He looks up. "Why are they doing that?" he asks. You crouch beside him, place a hand on his shoulder. "Because it's the only thing that's theirs," you say. "The fire burns the rest." He looks back at the dancers, and for the first time since the night began, he smiles. Just a little. You both sit on the cracked marble edge of a broken fountain. The stone is warm. A statue of a nymph lies in pieces behind you, her head missing, her arms curled in some forgotten gesture of blessing or warning. Water no longer runs here, but something older than water remains. Memory, perhaps. The boy leans against you. "You think the emperor's still alive?" he asks. You close your eyes. "And you remember?" Earlier that day, before the bells rang, before the smoke, before the flames, there were whispers in the streets. Theodora had met with her inner circle. The emperor had retreated into the purple chamber. No one had seen him since. Not even the priests. Not even his guards. You open your eyes. I don't know, you say truthfully. The boy hugs his knees. I heard he has a secret tunnel, beneath the palace, all the way to the harbor. You nod slowly. Maybe you whisper, and maybe that's where he is now, clutching his crown in the dark, waiting for a boat that will never come. Or maybe he's still in the throne room, watching the city burn through stained glass, too proud to flee, too weak to command. But the boy doesn't need that image. He needs hope. You tousle his hair gently. We'll find somewhere safe, you say. He nods. The music in the square has begun to slow. Not because of exhaustion, though it surely plays a part, but because dawn is near. A faint blue glow lingers at the horizon, low and uncertain, like a hesitant breath after a long silence. The fires still burn, but their roar is lessened now, their hunger fading. The fuel-wood flesh parchment memory has begun to run dry. You stand. The boy follows. The dancers have begun to disperse, arms draped over shoulders, heads resting on each other's backs. Some curl up beside the fire. Others disappear into the alleys, seeking beds that may no longer exist. You lead the boy toward the aqueduct, where shadows still linger, but the wind moves freely. The city is quiet here. Strange how even in destruction there are pockets of peace. You pass the remnants of a butcher's stall. Knives lie in the dirt, glinting in the dawn light. A dog sniffs at a burned haunch of meat, then limps away. The smell is thick, spoiled, blood-roasted bone iron. Ahead, a woman sits beneath the archway. She cradles something in her lap. As you draw closer, you realize it's a harp. She is plucking it softly, one string at a time, not playing, tuning, or perhaps saying goodbye. She doesn't look at you, but you stop to listen. The notes are gentle, imperfect. Some strings are broken, others hum with a sad beauty that clings to your chest like mist. The boy sits cross-legged at her feet, eyes closed, as if the music has reminded him of something he had forgotten, a lullaby. A mother's voice, the sound of calm. When she finishes, she does not bow, she does not speak. She simply gathers the harp to her chest and rocks with it like a child. You walk on. As you pass the edge of the old forum, you see a line of men carrying buckets from the cistern. Not to drink, to douse. They're splashing what remains on the door frames of homes that still stand, as if blessing them with whatever water the city has left. You nod to them. One nods back. The sun is rising. Just barely. It breaks over the eastern walls, illuminating the broken dome of the Hagia Sophia, the scorched mosaics of the chapel nearby, the cracked columns of the civic hall. The light is pale, but it does not tremble. You step into it. The boy beside you sighs. He looks up at the sky, still filled with smoke, but now also with color. A pink blush, a shimmer of gold. It's not hope, but it's not despair either. It's something in between. The day begins, but the night is not over. Not really, because what burned in Byzantium was not just buildings or scrolls or bodies. It was certainty. It was pride. It was the idea that something so vast, so holy, so ancient could never fall. Now you know better, and so does the boy. He reaches for your hand. You take it, and together you walk toward whatever remains. The streets are quieter now, not because the city has healed, but because it has given up trying to scream. The fires have dulled into smoldering craters, and the ash that once danced in the air now settles in still drifts on rooftops, on shoulders, in open mouths that no longer bother to speak. You and the boy walk side by side down a narrow corridor of stone, where light filters in through broken tiles above, casting fractured patterns across the path like fallen mosaics. The soles of your sandals scuff over soot and shattered pottery. A bird cries overhead, one of the gulls, confused, flying inland from the water, circling ruins instead of sails. The boy tugs your sleeve. "Where are we going?" he asks. You don't answer right away, because you don't know. But the silence between you has grown familiar now, not heavy, just shared. He doesn't ask again. You pass a chapel half sunk into the ground, its roof caved in its altar, now a nest of scorched pigeons. Someone has painted over its entrance in thick tar, "No entry plague." You stop briefly, not because you believe the warning, but because the words feel honest in their desperation. People are trying to save something, even if it's just space or silence or whatever's left of control. Down the hill the smell changes. Less fire, more flesh. You come upon a courtyard littered with bodies. Not mutilated, not even bloody, just still. Their hands folded, their faces oddly calm. Their robes burned in places but not ripped. A circle of them, as if they had lain down to sleep together and simply didn't wake. At the center a small brazier still smolders. Poison. You shield the boy's eyes. He doesn't resist. As you turn away, a soft voice reaches you, hoarse but alive. They thought it better. You turn to see a woman seated near the doorway of a shattered bakery. Her hair is white, eyes rimmed red. She doesn't cry. She just watches the courtyard, arms around her knees. They thought it better than waiting to burn, she says. You nod, not in agreement, just in understanding. She says nothing more. You walk on. Toward the Eastern District, the scholars' quarter once known for its libraries, its scrolls, its debating men, and ink-stained robes. Now it smells of parchment and mold, as if the wisdom of centuries is decomposing faster than the bodies. You step over a collapsed colonnade. A statue of Minerva has fallen face first into the street, her nose broken, her eyes cracked. She doesn't seem divine anymore. The boy stops at a doorway where books lie scattered like dead leaves. He kneels, picks one up, opens it. No words. Just fire etched black across every page. He lets it fall. I used to read with my sister, he whispers. You reach out, rest your hand on his shoulder. She'll be in the next city, you say. He nods, but you both know you're lying. You round the final corner before the Imperial Forum, expecting to find it collapsed like everything else. But you stop and stare, because somehow it still stands. The columns, the golden statue of Constantine, the stone basin that once held water for travelers, all untouched. But no one is here, not a soul. The city has collapsed around its heart, and the heart has kept beating in solitude. You enter the space slowly, reverently, as if walking into a tomb. Birdsong echoes from somewhere high above, sharp, incongruous. You look up and see a fig tree growing from the top of a crumbling wall, its roots clawing into the mortar like fingers refusing to let go. The boy runs ahead, laughing, only once, but it's enough. You smile despite yourself. In the center of the forum, someone has arranged a circle of stones. Fresh, clean. Inside the circle, a loaf of bread and a single white feather. You don't know who left it, but you recognize the gesture, peace offered like a question. The boy kneels and breaks the loaf. He hands you half. It's still warm. You eat in silence, not because you are hungry, but because it feels sacred to do so. A memory of humanity, a ritual against forgetting. And then you hear the hoofbeats. Not many, but close, measured. Approaching from the north road, you rise and step in front of the boy instinctively. A figure appears on horseback, cloaked face shadowed. Behind him, two more. Not armored, not imperial, but disciplined. Eyes scanning the stones not for danger, but for survivors. The lead rider stops when he sees you. He raises a hand and dismounts. Slowly, carefully, he pulls back his hood. He is young. Eyes tired, lips cracked, forehead blistered from heat. But his voice is calm. We're gathering those left, he says. We have water, shelter, out past the aqueduct, near the olive groves. You hesitate. The boy steps forward. Will they have books, he asks. The man smiles faintly. We'll write new ones. You look at him for a long moment. Not because you don't trust him, but because you want to remember this moment. A choice made not in desperation, but in the first light of something almost like hope. You nod. The man helps the boy onto the second horse. You follow on foot, and as you leave the forum behind, the golden statue of Constantine still glints in the sunlight, surrounded by silence, untouched by fire. But you do not look back. Not anymore. The road beyond the city is not a road anymore. It's a scar. Deep, uneven, charred at the edges. Dust clouds rise with every footstep, clinging to your lungs, your eyelids, your thoughts. What used to be cobblestone has turned to powder in places, and the olive trees that once lined the path are now twisted silhouettes, some burned to the core, others stripped bare as if the fire had eaten their memories too. You follow the riders in silence. The boy clings to the saddle arms wrapped tightly around the horse's neck, eyes closed, not in fear, but in surrender. There's nothing more for him to hold on to, so he holds the animal as if warmth alone could carry him to whatever comes next. You walk behind them. Your steps are slow, measured. Not because you're tired, though you are, but because each one feels like a farewell. To the city, to the fire, to the person you were when the night began. Up ahead, the rider gestures toward a gap in the hills. You crest the ridge, and there it is. A camp, small, quiet makeshift, tents fashioned from sails and cloaks. Fires burning low, more smoke than flame. People huddled in clusters, old men wrapped in prayer shawls, young women braiding each other's soot-darkened hair, children digging shallow trenches with spoons and sticks. They look up as you approach. Some smile, others do not. But none look surprised. It seems everyone here has lost something, or everything. You're ushered toward a corner of the camp where olive trees still live. Their leaves shimmer faintly in the morning breeze. Silver undersides catching light like coins of peace. Beneath them blankets have been laid. Water is passed. Someone hands you a cup. It tastes like iron, but it's cool. The boy slides from the horse and sinks into the grass. He doesn't speak. He doesn't move. He just watches the wind ripple the canvas of nearby tents, his small fingers tracing patterns in the soil. You sit beside him. Across the field, a group of women are tending to the wounded. A man with a broken leg splinted with an old bow. A girl with burns up her arm, now wrapped in linen soaked in vinegar. Their expressions are not panicked, just focused, efficient. Survivors know how to survive. Nearby, a priest sings softly to himself, voice barely audible over the breeze. The melody is unfamiliar, not Latin, not Greek. Perhaps older, perhaps made up. The song of a man too tired for ritual, too reverent to stay silent. You close your eyes, and for a moment there is peace, not comfort, not healing, but stillness. The kind that follows a storm, the kind that asks nothing of you. You drift into sleep without knowing, and when you wake the light has shifted. Shadows now stretch longer across the field. Smoke from the city curls in the distance like a question mark drawn across the sky. The boy is still beside you, but he's drawing something in the dirt, a building maybe, with arches, a dome, the Hagia Sophia. You watch him for a while, then rise. A woman approaches, tall shoulders, straight hair bound in a knot that speaks of soldiering or stubbornness. She carries a scroll under one arm and a water skin at her hip. She sits across from you without asking. You came from the fire, she says. You nod. So did I. She unrolls the scroll. Blank. She dips a piece of charcoal in water, begins to draw. Not words, shapes. The city as it was. Before. Towers, streets, bridges, gardens. And flames curling over them, not with violence, but with sorrow. I was a mapmaker, she says. I drew borders, forts, trade routes. She pauses. Now I draw what we've lost. You say nothing. She draws a small figure on the road, just a smudge, a silhouette. That's you, she says. She smiles faintly, but her eyes do not. She hands you the scroll. You should keep it. You hesitate. She shrugs. Or burn it if that's what helps. She stands. Leaves. You look down at the drawing. It isn't accurate. The scale is wrong. The colors are imagined. The city walls curve too much and the domes tilt like forgotten hats. But it feels right, like memory. You roll the parchment slowly and tie it with the leather strap from your belt. The boy looks up. Is that for her, he asks. You blink. Who? My sister, he says. You said she might be waiting in the next city. You nod. It's a soft lie. But it gives him something to carry. That night they light no large fires in the camp. Only coals. The sky is too tender now, the night too thin. The stars return slowly, blinking one by one like eyes opening after grief. Somewhere nearby someone plays a flute. The notes are low, uneven, like a child learning to speak again after forgetting their name. You lie back on the blanket, the boy beside you. Neither of you speaks, and for the first time the quiet doesn't hurt. You think of the streets, of the towers, of the shadows dancing, of the corpse buried in the square, of the priest who whispered to stone, of the woman who played the harp, of the man who threw books into a boat and called it salvation, of the fire, and of what came after. You do not cry. You do not smile. You simply breathe and let the night hold you. Byzantium burns still. But here beyond the hills something else begins. Not a kingdom. Not a city. A memory. A gathering. Of names. Of faces. Of stories told not with triumph or terror, but with gentleness. Because sometimes the softest things survive the longest. You reach over. Touch the boy's hand. He doesn't wake, but he squeezes your fingers just once. Then lets go. The morning comes slowly. Not with fanfare, not with clarity, but with a gradual unpeeling of shadows. The sky shifts from black to charcoal to something pale and bruised. Light filters through the olive leaves in thin threads, laying a pattern across your face as you lie there half asleep, half listening to the hush of others beginning to stir. You open your eyes to a world that does not yet look like a new day. The boy is gone from your side, but you do not panic. A soft rustle draws your gaze. There beneath a tree he is seated with a group of children, 6 or 7, all hunched in a circle, watching a girl with a bandaged hand carefully carve shapes into the dirt with a broken spoon. Her strokes are slow, deliberate, like drawing a map of something only she can see. The others nod solemnly at each line. The boy glances up and sees you. He doesn't wave, he just smiles. You rise with effort. The aches in your body are no longer from running or fear. They are the aches of having survived something you were never meant to witness, a fire not just of buildings, but of memory, of identity. You cross the camp, stepping over blankets, bowls, fragments of fabric, repurposed into shade. There is no sound of crying, only the creak of a makeshift cart, the whisper of someone stirring a pot, the soft hum of a lullaby too old to have a name. Near the edge of the hill you find the map maker. She is crouched over another scroll. This time, she's drawing the camp, the tents, the olive trees, the people lying on their sides like commas in a sentence too long to finish. You watch her for a moment before speaking. There are no walls, you say. She doesn't look up. We don't need them here. You kneel beside her. She adds a line for the ridge, then a dot for the boy. He asked me if I knew how to draw dreams, she murmurs. And did you? She shrugs. I tried. You look out across the plain. Smoke still lingers on the horizon, but it's thinner now. The wind pushes it in long ribbons stretching east. Somewhere beneath that haze the city still smolders. But here life has begun reshaping itself slowly without permission. A man walks past carrying a bundle of sticks. A woman kneels to comb ashes from another's hair. Two older children sit beneath a fig tree, teaching a third how to whistle using a blade of grass. These things too are part of rebuilding. Not the bricks, but the breath. The boy calls to you. You turn. He is holding something in his hands, a rough cube carved from wood. He runs to you and places it in your palm. It's a puzzle, he says. The girl with the spoon made it. You study the block. Each side bears a symbol: star wave, leaf tower, eye flame. What do they mean, you ask? He shrugs. She says if you hold it long enough, you'll know. You smile faintly. Then tuck it into your robe. The mapmaker rolls up her parchment, hands it to a young courier waiting nearby. He takes it wordlessly and disappears down the path toward the other side of the ridge where you've heard more camps are forming. Survivors seeking survivors. Will you go with him, you ask? She shakes her head. Not yet, she says. I want to draw the faces first. You glance at her, surprised. Not just the buildings, she adds. Not anymore. You rise. As you walk, someone stops you. A tall man, thin as reed grass, wearing a torn scholar's cloak patched with burlap. In his arms he holds a bundle wrapped in silk. When he speaks, his voice cracks like dry parchment. Did you see the university, he asks? You nod. I was there when it fell, you say. He winces, then offers the bundle. You unwrap it carefully. Inside a book. Handwritten. Bound in cracked leather, edges singed. I saved this, he says. Not because it is rare, but because it belonged to my father. You wait for him to continue. He wrote it by hand, he whispers. It's only half finished. But he believed that even unfinished truths were worth saving. You nod. He clutches your hand. Will you read it when you're ready? You say yes, though you do not know when that will be. He leaves you standing with it, the weight of a family's hope in your arms. Later you find the boy again. He's drawing on a piece of cloth with charcoal, copying what the girl made in the dirt. He's careful with his lines. More careful than you've seen him be with anything. What are you making, you ask? A story, he says. About the fire. He shakes his head. About after. You kneel beside him. He hands you the cloth. And for a moment you both sit there, your hands smudged with black, your breath soft in the olive-scented breeze. Far below where the city lies broken, a bell rings. Not loudly, not in mourning, just once, clear. It doesn't echo. It doesn't need to, because now Byzantium belongs to those who remember. And you remember. You remember everything. That evening the wind shifts again. Not violently. It arrives like a stranger who has forgotten why they came, brushing against tents, rustling olive branches, slipping into the corners of sleeves and collars. The smell of the city fades a little more. Smoke no longer bites your eyes. Ash no longer clings to every surface. You sit at the edge of the camp with the boy. He's humming a tune you don't know. He doesn't seem to notice he's doing it, as if the melody is rising from someplace deeper than thought. He holds the puzzle block in his hands, rolling it slowly. His fingers trace the carved symbols over and over: star wave, leaf tower, eye flame. You ask him softly, "Have you figured it out yet?" He looks up. "No," he says, "but I think it's not supposed to be solved." He turns the block one more time and sets it on the ground between you. "I think it's just meant to be held." The simplicity of the answer strikes you like thunder in a silent room. You glance down at your own hands, skin darkened by sun and soot nails, cracked palms lined with a language you've forgotten how to read. What have you held through all this? The boy. A piece of bread. A broken map. A name written in charcoal. And still your hands are empty. You hear footsteps behind you. Slow, deliberate. It's the woman who sang the night before, not the priest, not the mapmaker. Another. She wears the garb of a widow, but her eyes are clear, alert. In one hand she holds a piece of parchment, in the other, a bowl of crushed berries and ash. She kneels beside you. "We're marking them," she says. "The children." You look at her. "For what?" She dips a finger into the bowl and smears a line of deep purple onto the boy's forehead. He flinches but doesn't pull away. "So they'll be remembered," she answers, "in case they go missing, or leave, or grow up." The boy touches the mark. His eyes widen a little. Then he smiles. The woman turns to you. "Would you like one?" You nod. Her fingers are gentle. The mixture is cool against your skin. She marks a line vertical from brow to bridge and hums under her breath as she does it. The sound reminds you of lullabies, of old walls, of names carved into tree trunks. When she finishes, she presses her forehead to yours just for a breath, then stands and leaves. The boy leans against you. "Do I look different?" he asks. You nod. "You look like someone who will be remembered." A small smile, a nod, his eyes drift toward sleep. And then a bell chimes. Not from the city, from within the camp. You both sit up. A crowd begins to gather near the olive grove. Lanterns are being lit, small clay dishes with floating wicks, their flames wavering gently in the dusk. Voices rise murmuring, not in fear, in anticipation. The priest stands at the center, not robed in gold or embroidered linen, just a simple gray tunic, his hair tied back, hands open. Beside him, a shallow basin filled with water from the cistern. He speaks, but not loudly. "Tonight we name what remains." No applause, no ritual, just silence that waits. One by one, people step forward. A girl no older than 12 stands and says, "My mother's song." A boy with one leg calls out, "The smell of the bakery on Thursdays." An old woman whispers, "The way my husband snored before winter." Someone else offers, "The courtyard with the mulberry tree." The library cat. The fishmonger's laugh. The stall that sold ribbons. Each memory falls into the night like a drop of ink into clear water, spreading gently, touching everything. You feel your throat tighten. When it's your turn, you stand. The boy looks up at you, his eyes wide, waiting. You step forward and say only this, the way the city sounded at dawn before it forgot how. No one asks you to explain. No one needs to. The priest nods, then steps forward himself and dips his hand into the water. He sprinkles it outward, not as a blessing, but as a reminder. "It is not gone," he says, "only changed." One by one, the people do the same, until the basin is nearly empty, and the night has grown so quiet you can hear your own breath. Later, after most have returned to their tents, you remain. The boy is asleep again, curled beside the puzzle block. You reach for it, turn it once more in your hands. The star, the wave, the leaf, the tower, the eye, the flame. Each side feels heavier now. Not because of what they mean, but because they've been held. You don't know what will happen tomorrow, or the day after. You don't know if the city will be rebuilt or abandoned, or swallowed by stories that twist its memory into something unrecognizable. But you know this. You were there when it burned. You were there when it ended. And now you are here, still breathing, still listening, still naming what remains. And maybe that is enough. The stars are sharper tonight. Not brighter, no, the sky still carries the haze of the city's dying breath, but sharper. Like someone has taken a knife to the heavens and opened tiny deliberate wounds through which light now leaks. You lie beneath them on your back in the grass, the boy asleep again beside you, his breath even and warm. You should be sleeping too, but sleep feels, borrowed. As if too much of it might erase what still lingers in the air, the scent of char, the memory of footsteps on marble, the sound of a name shouted across a burning square. So you stay awake, and you listen. To the wind brushing against the canvas tents, to the creak of tree limbs swaying above you, to the occasional murmur of someone shifting in their blanket or whispering in a dream. And then something else, a rustle, not wind, movement. You sit up slowly. Across the field near the well, a figure moves, a cloaked shape, limping slightly. They pause, turn, glance behind them, then keep walking toward the far ridge. They carry something slung over their shoulder, wrapped in a cloth. You watch in silence, and then you rise. You walk slowly barefoot over soft dirt, careful not to wake the boy or anyone else nearby. The night has softened everything, edges, sounds, even time. You follow the figure at a distance. They climb the ridge step by step until they reach the top and disappear beyond it. You pause at the base. The camp is behind you now. Lanterns dimming, breath slowing, all of it held together by nothing more than the quiet promise of another morning. You climb, and when you reach the crest, you see her. The mapmaker. She's seated on a stone ledge overlooking the valley beyond. In her lap, the scroll, unfurled. The wind threatens to lift it, but her fingers press it gently down. The wrapped object lies beside her. You approach slowly. She hears you but doesn't turn. "I thought you'd come," she says. You sit beside her. The valley below is empty. No lights, no cities. Just hills folding into each other, layered in grays and blues. In the farthest reaches, a river glints in the starlight. "I found something," she says. She unwraps the bundle. Inside, a box, wooden, carved with symbols. You recognize one of them, the flame, the same as on the boy's puzzle. "What is it?" you ask. She opens it. Inside, a stack of pages, handmade, rough edges, ink smudged in places. "It's not a map," she says. "It's a record." She lifts one page. Drawings, not of buildings, of faces. Yours, the boy's, the woman with the harp, the scholar with the burned book, the priest. Even the dog curled beside the fountain. "I couldn't let it go," she says, and for the first time her voice wavers. "Not again." You look down at the pages. Each one is more than an image. They are fragments of soul, caught in ink. You made them live, you whisper. She shakes her head. No, they were already alive. I just remembered. You sit with her in silence. Below, the wind moves through the grass like fingers combing hair. After a while, she speaks again. I used to think drawing was about accuracy, scale, proportion, but that was just obedience. To rulers, to cities, to ideas someone else handed me. She looks at you. But now I draw what matters, even if no one ever sees it. You nod. Someone will, you say. She smiles, faint and tired. You think so. You take a breath, and you tell her what you saw the night the city burned, the dancers in the courtyard, the boy with the bruised face who asked for the sea, the silent burial of the man whose name no one dared say aloud. You describe the puzzle block, the circle of lanterns, the water blessed by voices naming what was lost. And she listens. She listens like no one has listened before. Then she picks up a blank page and begins to draw. Not quickly, carefully, and as the ink spreads beneath her hand, you feel something loosen in your chest. Something old. Grief, yes, but also release. Below you, the camp still sleeps. Tomorrow there will be decisions whether to move, to rebuild, to send messengers across the sea or letters up the river. Tomorrow there will be hunger and sorrow and the delicate balancing of memory and hope. But not now. Now there is only this. A box of faces. A hand moving across paper. The wind curling around your shoulders. The stars above no longer sharp but soft. Like they too are beginning to heal. You lie back again, arms folded beneath your head, and close your eyes. The mapmaker hums under her breath. The same melody the boy sang earlier. You don't know where it came from, but you know it will stay. And when sleep comes, it comes gently. Like a flame that no longer burns, only warms. Morning creeps in, not with trumpets but with footsteps. You feel it before you see it. The soft shuffle of movement in the grass, the rustle of canvas being drawn aside, the clink of pottery, and hands rinsing bowls at the well. The kind of waking that has no urgency, only rhythm, like the world remembering how to turn. You open your eyes. The sky above is bleached silver, as if the sun itself is still cautious about rising too quickly. The stars have vanished. The wind smells of dew and charcoal and something else now bred. Someone has lit a fire low and slow, and you can hear the dough crackling softly against the stone. The boy is already up. He stands at the edge of the hill, arms folded, puzzle block tucked under one elbow, watching the valley below. His hair is wild, his tunic lopsided. He looks older, not in years, in posture, as if the silence of the last few days has pressed something permanent into his bones. You join him without a word. The fields beyond stretch wide, mist-covered, edged by rows of distant olive trees that survived the fires. The city itself, far behind you now, is only a dark shape on the horizon. No new smoke rises, no bells ring, just the long, unbroken hush of something that has ended. The boy turns to you. I want to build something, he says. You look at him. He's not smiling, not excited, just certain. What kind of something? He shrugs. A house, a road, a place. He taps the puzzle block gently. I think it's what this is for. You glance down at the carved sides, the flame, the wave, the eye, and feel again the strange weight of them. As if they've been collecting memory rather than holding meaning. You nod. He walks off toward the grove, toward the others who are beginning to rise and stretch and gather. You watch as he sits beside a man with gray in his beard and begins drawing shapes in the dirt with a stick. The man nods, then adds to the drawing. Then another joins. Then two more. By mid-morning there's a crowd. You sit beneath a tree watching them work. They aren't building yet, just imagining. They draw circles for wells, lines for walls, arches where sun might fall cleanly. Someone suggests a garden. Another wants a library. One woman insists on space for a theater, and though no one laughs, you hear something close to laughter in the way she says it. The priest arrives with parchment. The mapmaker sketches beside him. The woman who sang now holds a bowl of dye, tracing symbols onto cloth that will become flags. Names are shared, not shouted, just spoken, repeated, written down, held. At midday a rider arrives. Dusty, sunburned, his cloak torn at the shoulder. He doesn't dismount right away, just sits there, horse trembling beneath him, eyes wide and disbelieving. A small crowd gathers. He pulls a scroll from his side and unrolls it. You cannot read it from where you stand, but you hear fragments whispered along the line. Antioch burned, but not all. Alexandria holds. Rome is quiet. And then, another camp 10 days west, more survivors. The news spreads not like fire, like water. Slow, deep, soaking into everything. You feel yourself breathe deeper, not lighter but fuller. That afternoon the boy returns. In his hands a piece of broken pottery, carefully scrubbed, the edges worn smooth. On its surface a drawing, his drawing. of a house, with a window, and a figure standing beside it. You look closer. The figure has your posture. He places the shard in your hands. I don't know if we'll ever build it, he says, but if we do, I want you to be there. You smile. You're already building it, you say. That night there is no fire, only lanterns, dozens of them, hung from branches set upon stones floating in shallow bowls of oil. Each one flickers in rhythm with the wind. Together they cast a warm glow over the camp, not like daylight, not like the fire that once devoured the city, like memory, made visible. People gather again in the circle, but no one speaks this time. They just sit, shoulder to shoulder, some with arms around each other, some with palms pressed into the earth, some alone but not lonely. The stars return, softer than before. Above the night sky curves like a dome, vast and solemn. Someone begins to hum, the same melody, the one the boy sang, the one the mapmaker hummed as she drew. It passes from person to person, voice to voice, until the entire camp is breathing it, a single note stretched into infinity. No words, just presence, just light. You close your eyes and feel the sound settle into your chest. Not heavy, not painful, just whole. And for the first time since the first torch was lit in the old market, you feel it. Not hope, not survival, but belonging, not to the past, not to the city, to now, to here, to what is being made, from what could not be saved. You wake before the sun. There's no reason to no bell, no duty, no threat, but your body knows. Some part of you has learned that moments of stillness are sacred and brief, that the time just before light is when the world breathes differently. You rise without a sound, wrap your cloak across your shoulders, and step into the gray hush of pre-dawn. The camp is still, not frozen, not lifeless, just resting. A gentle tension like a violin string just before the bow draws across it. You walk past the row of tents, past the olive grove, past the place where the children now stack stones into imagined castles. Ash from the city has settled lightly over everything, and when you move it kicks up in tiny clouds like dust from old books. You climb the ridge once more, and when you reach the top you are not alone. The mapmaker is there. She's sitting cross-legged, a bundle of pages in her lap, a cup of something steaming cradled in her hands. She doesn't speak when you arrive, just gestures for you to sit. You do. The sky is a narrow band of color, now blue melting into purple, into rose. A sunrise not of triumph but of gentleness. It doesn't blaze, it lingers. She opens the bundle. You see the drawings again, faces, hands, buildings half standing, but new ones too. The boy's puzzle block, a tent strung with lanterns, a bowl with a single olive floating in water, a stone with a name scratched into it. These are the pieces, she says quietly. The ones that matter. You nod. Then she hands you a blank page and a piece of charcoal. You blink. I'm not a drawer. Neither am I, she says, smiling faintly. You hesitate, then press the charcoal to the paper. Your hand is awkward, your lines shaky. But you draw a doorway. Not large, not ornate, just a threshold. One step leading up to it. A figure standing beside it, undefined, shadowed. And behind them the suggestion of something glowing. Not fire, not light. Memory. You don't know what it means. But when she looks at it, she nods. You remembered something. You exhale. She wraps the pages again, binds them in a strip of linen, and places them inside a satchel at her side. I'll carry them west, she says, to the other camps. You glance at her. Will they understand? Maybe, she says, but that's not why I'll carry them. You look back to the valley. The camp is waking now. Slow movement, cloth being folded, fire pits being stoked. A child's voice calling a name. The clatter of a bowl dropped and retrieved. The sounds of rebuilding even without hammers or saws. I think we're staying, she says. You turn to her. Here. She nods. Some will leave, some already have. But some of us... She gestures to the ground beneath you. This is where we became who we are now. You let that settle. Not in your mind, in your chest. She rises, dusts off her cloak, then pauses. Will you come with me west? You look down at your hands, at the charcoal dust on your fingertips, at the sunrise soaking into your skin, at the faint shadow of the city still staining the far horizon. And then you shake your head. No. She nods as if she already knew. Then she leaves. You watch her figure shrink against the light, her footsteps kicking up little clouds of yesterday. When you return to camp, the boy is waiting. He holds the puzzle block in one hand and something new in the other, a piece of broken mirror. Look, he says. He angles the glass so you can see the sun just beginning to crest over the hills, caught in reflection. It's not fire, he whispers, but it still glows. You crouch beside him. Where did you find that? In the dirt, he says, behind the tents. I think it was part of a cup. You look closer. The edge is chipped but smooth. You can see your face in it, blurred, incomplete. And his, side by side. I want to keep it, he says. You nod. and then you help him wrap it in cloth and tuck it into his pouch. He stands. "I think I want to build a wall today," he says. "A small one, just enough to feel like something is mine." You smile. He walks away. You don't follow. You sit for a while near the cooking fire's hands warming against the stone. People greet you now with nods. Some with touch, a hand on your arm, a palm pressed to your back. No words, no need. Someone passes you a bowl of figs. Another offers a piece of soft bread torn from a larger loaf. You eat, and while you do, a woman begins to sing. Not loudly, not the melody from before. A new one. Slower, lower, it fills the air like fog. And others join. First one, then two, then 10. And soon the camp is full of it, a hum beneath the skin, a vibration that settles not in the ears, but in the bones. You close your eyes, and for the first time since Byzantium burned, you feel the shape of what comes next. Not a city, not a kingdom, a village, a song, a threshold, held in memory, shaped by ash glowing in pieces. And you know, without proof, without promise, that it will be enough. By midday, the boy has already stacked his wall knee-high. It isn't made of stone, not yet. There aren't enough clean rocks. So he uses what he can find, pieces of broken tile, clay bricks blackened by fire, bits of foundation, once belonging to houses long turned to smoke. He presses them together with damp earth, packing the seams with his small, determined hands. You sit nearby under a fig tree whose fruit has not yet ripened. He works without speaking, jaw-clenched, tongue tucked in concentration. Occasionally he hums always the same tune. You no longer wonder where it came from. Some melodies don't belong to people. They belong to places. A girl comes to help him, maybe 9 or 10, with a limp in her left leg, and a laugh that surprises her every time it leaves her throat. She brings more bricks. He doesn't tell her what to do. He doesn't need to. They work in rhythm, like they've done this before in some other life, in some other city that also learned how to end. Someone ties cloth to the top of a wooden pole and stakes it nearby. It's not a flag. Not yet. Just fabric. Torn from the hem of a dress dyed with crushed berries and charcoal. A spiral is painted at its center, circling inward like a fingerprint or a memory trying to find its root. Others notice. One man begins digging a shallow trench, not for water, but for marking the edge of something that might one day be called ours. 2 women gather flat stones and begin laying them in rows like stepping paths. Someone plants fennel seeds in an old cooking pot. A boy carves lines into the bark of a tree, counting days since they fled. And so, without decree or plan, a village begins. Not with walls, with gestures. Near the cooking pit, a man unrolls a long strip of parchment and begins listing names again. Not just those lost, but those found. He adds small notations beside each voice. Clear, fast walker, mender of shoes, sings in sleep. No one asks why. Everyone understands. A woman sharpens a stick and begins scratching a poem into a flat piece of slate. She doesn't share it. She just places it near the center of camp beside a bowl of olive oil and a handful of wildflowers tied with a frayed ribbon. In the distance, a rider returns, not from the city, from the west. He brings word of another settlement forming 3 valleys over. They've begun rebuilding an aqueduct. They've sent a call for teachers, anyone who can read, anyone who remembers the old ways of growing barley without irrigation. The mapmaker is gone now. She left before sunrise with a satchel full of drawings, a second horse, and a promise to return. The priest remains. He no longer leads prayers. Instead, he sits near the well and listens. To everyone. To no one. To the wind. He holds a small wooden token between his palms, worn smooth from touch, carved with a single word in a language you do not know. When someone asks what it means, he smiles. It means, he says, keep going. By late afternoon, a child with soot still in her fingernails finds a patch of earth near the grove and begins digging. At first, others think she's looking for something, but she keeps digging. Her hands blister. Still she digs, until the hole is deep enough to kneel inside. She presses her palms flat against the bottom and whispers something, then climbs out, covers the hole again, places a single flat stone on top. You ask her what it was. She shrugs. A place, she says, for silence. And no one questions her. The boy's wall is now waist-high. Cracks run through it, gaps in places, but it stands. You help him lift a heavy slab, a broken doorstep, and set it carefully on top. It doesn't fit quite right. It leans. He smiles anyway. I want to sleep next to it tonight, he says. You nod. You should. He wipes his hands on his tunic, leaves streaks of gray across the fabric. He doesn't seem to mind. You glance toward the valley. A faint haze still lingers where the city once stood. But it no longer chokes. It just rests, like a memory finally settling into its place. As dusk falls, lanterns are lit again. This time not just for light, but for shape. They're placed in circles now, marking paths, outlining spaces not as boundaries but as invitations. The village doesn't grow out, it grows in. People gather close not out of fear but warmth. Tonight there is food. Not much. A shared stew thick with roots and wild greens, stirred with a ladle carved from driftwood. Bread flat and uneven passed from hand to hand. A jar of honey opened carefully, reverently. No one eats first. Everyone eats together. As you sip from your bowl, the boy leans against your side. Do you think they'll find us? You look down. Who will? The ones who are still walking. You stare into the fire. I think we're already calling them. He nods. And you realize he's right. The lanterns, the music, the drawings, the wall. Each one is a signal, a message written in action. We are still here. We remember. And we are not finished. Later that night, you lie beside the wall. The boy sleeps under his blanket of patched fabric, one hand still resting on a warm brick. The wind hums through the trees. The stars are out again, softer this time, like they've learned how to listen. You watch the sky until your eyes close. And in your dreams, you see the city again. But not in flames. In fragments, pieces, held in hands, passed from person to person. And you understand. Byzantium did not die. It scattered, so that it could be rebuilt. Wherever someone is willing to remember, the next morning something changes. It's not loud. It doesn't announce itself. But it's there in the air, in the pace of footsteps, in the way the villagers lift their heads just a little higher. The grief hasn't vanished. The ash hasn't been washed from every face. But something deeper has stirred. Like soil turned after a long drought, ready to take seed. You rise early again. The boy is already awake, sitting atop his wall like a small sentinel. He doesn't wave when he sees you. He just points. At the horizon, a figure is walking toward the camp, alone. They carry nothing visible. No pack, no staff, no cart. Just themselves. Barefoot. Their robe frayed and dark with dust hair braided down one side, eyes fixed on the hill ahead. As they get closer, the village stills. Not in fear. Not in judgment. In recognition. They've seen this before. A traveler who has nothing left. You step forward, meeting them just outside the first circle of lanterns. The person, a woman perhaps 40, stops a few feet away. Her face is lean, sun-marked, her shoulders slightly hunched from days on foot, but her gaze is steady. I heard singing, she says. You nod. Was it you? You smile. No, but it reached you. She glances past you at the camp. At the boy on the wall. At the banners of spiral cloth waving lightly in the breeze. She closes her eyes and weeps, not loudly, just 2 quiet tears that fall into the dust. You step aside, and she enters. Someone brings her water. Someone else offers bread. The priest stands and gestures to the basin. She dips her fingers in and touches her forehead. Then her heart. Then the earth. No one tells her what to do. But she knows. By midday, 4 more arrive. 2 brothers carrying a broken wheel between them. A girl no older than 16 with soot on her elbows and a bag of apricots tied to her waist. An older man with no voice who communicates only through gestures, but whose eyes light up when he sees the half-built wall. The village expands by a breath. Just one. But it holds. The boy adds another brick. The girl with the limp weaves flowers into the base. 2 others begin shaping a second wall perpendicular to the first. They call it a garden wall. Though there are no plants yet. Not yet. But they dig anyway. They dig with spoons, with sticks, with hands. They pile stones in circles and name them beds. And someone laughs a real laugh, deep and startled, like it hasn't been used in years. That night the sky is clear. Utterly. Not a single cloud. The stars pour across it in long silver rivers. Someone points out constellations. Another says, I don't believe in stars anymore, but they say it with a smile, and the others chuckle, and no one argues. The boy places his puzzle block at the center of the wall, embedded like a keystone. Then he steps back and takes your hand. Do you think this is what cities are? He asks. You look around. At the lanterns. The tents. The fire. The laughter. The digging. The remembering. The rebuilding. You squeeze his hand. No, you say, I think this is what people are. He doesn't answer, but he nods. Then leans against your side. The priest approaches later with a bowl of warm oil. He dips a strip of cloth in it and begins cleaning the ash from the boy's arms, then yours. One by one, he moves through the village, wiping dust and fire and memory from skin, not to erase, but to bless. When he finishes, he lights 7 candles and places them in a row. 1 for each direction, north, south, east, west. 1 for the sky, 1 for the ground, and 1 for what lies between. You sit in the quiet that follows. It's a silence different from the first night. Not afraid, not empty, full, whole. The mapmaker returns 2 days later. Dusty, exhausted, eyes red from wind, but alive. She carries a new scroll. Drawings from another camp. Faces, symbols, plans. She shares news. The aqueduct is working. A group of musicians are gathering in the riverbend to teach old songs. A young woman has begun crafting a language from the ruins, taking the broken pieces of old dialects and weaving them into something new. She unwraps a small bundle and places it in the center of the fire circle. A carved stone, inlaid with silver, in the shape of a doorway. "We're not rebuilding Byzantium," she says. "We're building something that remembers it." And no one claps. But everyone understands. Later, the children place the stone beside the puzzle block in the wall. The wall now stretches in two directions. Low, curved open, like arms reaching outward. You walk its length with the boy. He traces the top with his fingertips. "They'll come," he says. You glance down. "Who?" "The others," he says. "The ones still walking. The ones who heard the fire but didn't know where to go." You nod. And beneath your breath you whisper it too. "They'll come." And they do. Not all at once, but steadily. A family of 5, sunburned and silent, bearing a bundle of lavender tied with ribbon. A man with a fiddle and no shoes. A woman who brings only stories. They're welcomed without question. Fed. Named. Asked where they last slept, not where they were born. And each one adds something. A word. A song. A stone. A memory. And the village grows. Without walls. Without gates. Without rulers. But with fire. Warm, small, patient. Tended by everyone. Watched by children. Fed by what remains. And in time the word Byzantium stops meaning smoke. Stops meaning loss. It becomes a kind of root. Buried. Feeding something alive. Time loses its edges in the village. No bells ring to divide hours. No trumpets signal the changing of shifts. Days unfold like fabric, soft wide without corners. The sun rises not as a command but as an invitation. You measure time by the bread cooling on stones, by the laughter echoing through the grove, by the way lanterns are lit one by one when the sky begins to deepen. Some call it New Byzantium. Others simply say here, a place without walls, but full of boundaries honored by kindness. Where no one owns the fire but everyone feeds it. Where water is shared before questions are asked. Where names are not demanded, but offered like seeds placed into open palms. You've built a home. It began as a blanket under a tree, then a canvas strung between 2 posts, then a wall of stone slowly arranged, uneven but firm. Now it has a roof made from woven branches and cloth dyed with the juice of wild berries. The scent of crushed fig leaves clings to the air around it. A child tied a bell to the doorframe, not for alarm, but for joy. It rings whenever someone enters, and no one ever enters in silence. The boy sleeps beside you most nights. Though lately he's taken to staying up late watching the stars with the girl who once limped and now walks with her own rhythm. They talk in low tones, sometimes laughing, sometimes just pointing at the sky. You don't interrupt. Some bonds are grown in silence. One afternoon you're helping smooth the ground for a new garden bed when the mapmaker returns with word. Another camp has formed beyond the low ridge where the river widens into a delta. They've built a bridge, wooden, rope-bound, decorated with carvings from salvaged doors and pews. They want to meet us, she says, not to merge, just to know. A murmur spreads, not fear, curiosity. That evening, a group of 8 sets out. You among them. The boy, too, he insists. You travel through low grass and dry creek beds, past the place where the ash no longer clings to your ankles. You walk in the early morning when the light is pink and the air still holds the breath of night. By noon you see the bridge, and beyond it them. Their camp is different. Built in circles, each tent a spoke from a common fire at the center. Their banners are not spirals, but stars drawn with soot and gold thread. They sing when they see you, not words, just tones. You pause at the edge of the bridge. A man steps forward. He holds out both hands. No weapon, no shield. Only open palms and a ribbon tied between them, 2 colors, violet and gray. Our offering, he says. The mapmaker steps forward. She ties a thread from her satchel to the ribbon red drawn from the dye they used to mark the first stones of your wall. The knot is tied. The ribbon now has 3 colors. The bridge is crossed. You share food. Trade songs. One of their elders draws you a map of the stars. They're stars constellations you've never heard of. One is shaped like a sleeping bird. Another a bowl of water tipped slightly as if always ready to spill. You stay 2 nights. Not long. Just enough to remember that others have survived. That your grief is not unique. That your fire is one of many. When you return, the boy carries something new in his hands. A small carved stone, round and smooth with a hole through its center. A woman from the other village gave it to him. She said it's for seeing, he tells you. You raise an eyebrow. Seeing what? He shrugs. Whatever's on the other side. That night he hangs it from a branch outside your shelter. The wind blows through it. It hums. Not a note, a feeling. And you understand. You've learned to read without parchment here. To listen without waiting for answers. To know without needing proof. The next morning, two strangers arrive. A woman with a newborn wrapped in linen. A man who carries an instrument with no strings. You recognize the look in their eyes. Worn, cautious, watching. You greet them with water. And silence. They stay. The woman weaves strips of reed into baskets. The man sits by the fire each night, tuning his empty instrument, listening to its hollow body, as if it still remembers music. Eventually someone gives him string. Not the right kind. But he makes it sing anyway, and when he does, people gather. The boy leans against your shoulder. The girl who once limped hums along. The mapmaker draws lines in the dirt, patterns, waves the way music might look if it had weight. And you close your eyes. You feel the fire. You feel the earth. And you realize something. You have not forgotten the city. But you no longer ache for it. You no longer dream of its towers or its marble halls. You remember the people, the way they ran, the way they stood, the way they whispered prayers into stone. But you no longer wish to go back, because something has been built here, now, not of stone, not of empire, but of choosing to stay, choosing to feed the fire, choosing to carry memory not as burden but as seed. And as the music plays and the lanterns are lit and the carved stone hums in the wind, you know. The night Byzantium burned did not end in ash. It began in ash, but it ends in song. You wake to the sound of birds, not gulls, not scavengers, but songbirds, high fluting notes rising from the fig trees beyond the wall. The boy is still asleep beside you, his hand curled beneath his cheek, the puzzle block tucked beneath his arm like a keepsake. Light filters through the woven roof of your shelter, soft and golden, brushing your face like a mother waking a child. You rise quietly, stepping outside into morning's hush. The fire has already been rekindled. A young woman kneels beside it, stirring a pot with a broken ladle. She nods to you. You nod back. There are no words yet. This part of the day is for movement, not for speaking. Others begin to emerge from their shelters, rubbing eyes, stretching shaking dew from blankets. The village unfolds like a breath held too long. The girl who once limped walks a trail of flat stones to the well, balancing a jar on her shoulder. The man with the hollow instrument now has 5 strings. He plays them softly. Children chase each other between the wall and the grove, bare feet kicking up dust that glows like powdered amber in the early light. You sit beneath the old fig tree, your back against its trunk, your hands cradling a bowl of warm water, and you listen. The village has grown, and yet it hasn't changed. There are more hands now, more names, more songs drifting into the air, but the rhythm remains gentle. No one commands, no one demands. People move by noticing, by helping, by offering. A woman kneels to tie another sandal. A child places a feather beside the fire. A boy carries water to a tree and pours it slowly, whispering something you cannot hear. The mapmaker sits nearby, her latest scroll open on her knees. You glance at it. A new drawing, not of faces or ruins, but of the wall. Now long curved in a half circle, its base reinforced with clay and moss. The puzzle block still sits at its center, surrounded by flowers placed by passing hands. Above it, someone has etched words into a stone slab. You walk to read it, not aloud, just with your eyes. We did not fall, we changed. The boy wakes not long after. He stumbles out barefoot, blinking into the light, rubbing his nose with the back of his hand. He sees you and smiles sleepily. Then he runs to the wall, checks the puzzle block, turns it once and sets it back. This has become his morning ritual. Today the village prepares for a gathering, not a celebration. Something quieter, something older, a remembrance. It has been 40 nights since the city burned. No one counted the days aloud, but everyone knew. It's in their movements. The way they gather flowers, the way they polish stones, the way the priest lays a strip of cloth across the earth near the center fire. A path, a memory. The mapmaker draws a circle in the dirt, 7 feet across. Within it she places objects. A shard of tile from the palace floor. A coin with no value, a candle half melted, a piece of fabric dyed with ash, a handful of wheat, a puzzle block's twin carved by the boy himself, and at the center a bowl of water, clear, still, reflecting the sky. By evening the entire village gathers around it, not in rows, not in ranks, in spirals, woven between trees around stones beside fire. Each person brings something, a word, a song, a name, a silence. You sit with the boy beside the circle. He rests his hand on yours. The priest speaks first, not with a sermon, with a story. He tells of the night he walked through the smoke, how he heard weeping in every corner of the city, how he thought no sound would ever bring peace again. Then he heard humming, just once, from a child hiding beneath a broken cart. It saved him. He nods to the boy, and the boy begins to hum, low, even, the same melody. Others join, one by one, until the whole camp sings. No instruments, no rhythm, just presence. You close your eyes. and see it again. The fire, the towers collapsing, the people fleeing. But now you also see this, the hands rebuilding, the bricks laid with care, the songs carried west by travelers, the drawings rolled tight in cloth carried to valleys you may never see. You open your eyes and find yourself crying, not from pain, not from fear, but from recognition. You lived, not survived, lived, changed, rebuilt, remembered. The priest takes the bowl of water and carries it to the edge of the camp. The crowd follows. He pours it onto the earth. It sinks into the ground slowly. A gift. Then he speaks the final words. Let what burned become what roots. Everyone bows their head. Even the children. Even the stars. That night there is no fire in the center. Only lanterns, hung high in trees, drifting on bowls in the well, placed on stones like sentinels, and the village rests. Not because it is finished, but because it is strong enough to sleep. You lie beneath your shelter, the boy curled beside you, the bell tied to the doorframe chiming faintly in the wind. And you dream, but not of what was lost, of what will come, of other fires, other villages, other hands reaching for stone and for story. And you know, somewhere far away, someone else is waking, someone else is walking, someone else is listening to the night Byzantium burned, and deciding quietly to begin again.